Yeah.
There we are. Yes, and we are happy to be here. We're going to start off by, how about we do something a little different this time and start off by reading our belief statement?
All right. We usually do a short vision statement, but just last week, sometime where you said no more vision statement. We want a belief system statement.
Yes.
And so I, with my hot little hands in my, how can I say,
Steaming mind.
steamy mind,
I don't know.
I don't know why you said that, but
I don't
anyway,
either. Hot and
I,
steaming. I don't know.
exactly,
Just,
I guess,
yeah.
I put together all of those broken out pieces and boom, we've got
Presto.
a belief system. Go ahead.
Yes.
Why don't you? A belief statement, I should say.
Yes.
Go ahead.
This is the Taking the Journey Together belief statement. We're so excited to have you with us at TTJT. We believe in the magic of real relationships and we are going to relate. It doesn't matter what your mother says, your father says, your children say, or even what Jesus says, we are going to relate. And we also know the old saying that we can be friends, but we can't be lovers, or we can be lovers, but we can't be friends. Therefore, we can marry our lover, but not our friend. We believe that the Creator split one soul into masculine and feminine energies, and those energies have been on a journey through lifetimes, preparing to reunite here on earth. Each of us has a divine partner, the yin to our yang, who can help us feel whole again. As your hosts, we're Sharon and Craig Butts, and we bring over 56 years of marriage experience to the table. We're here to help you reimagine your relationship lifestyle, draw from our rich experiences to empower you to reach your goals. Taking the journey together is not about creating drama. We serve as watchmen and women dedicated to uplifting and empowering individuals to build and sustain balanced, healthy relationships, especially within our community. We address interpersonal concerns in dating, cohabiting, and marriage, all to cultivate committed, thriving relationships. Together, we'll explore the transformative power of relationships, embracing the spirit of Ubuntu. I am because we are. Let's grow, uplift, and elevate one another on this beautiful journey.
And I think I love that too very much. I love that very much. I think there's one part in there that you read that wasn't quite making sense, which has to do with the old saying that we can be friends, but we can't be lovers. But we can be lovers, we can't be friends, and that we usually end up marrying our lovers and not our friends.
Mm-hmm.
But we believe, if you look at it, we
Yes.
didn't put that down right, but we believe that your lover can be your best friend
Should be your best
and should
friend.
be your best friend.
Yes.
And see, that's not what you read. I was
Yes.
looking back at because I heard when you read that, I'm like,
Hmm.
something don't sound right
Yeah, because
there.
that part was not included.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. That part we
Well,
have to
we'll just
include.
have to edit,
Exactly,
hit
exactly.
the edit
Definitely,
button.
definitely, definitely. So today we are talking about moving into um, something that happens a lot in our relationships.
Yeah.
And this has everything to do with what happened over last weekend. We just went through a terrible storm last weekend, man. Am I right, Sharon?
Yes, we did. It was not last weekend, it was last week, which is why
Mm-hmm.
we did not do the show last week, a live show last week, because we didn't know what the weather was going to be. And not knowing what the weather was going to be, we had something prepared, but it really wasn't meant to be because, at least not then, because here we
Mm-hmm.
are focusing on our belief statement and focusing on another aspect of healthy relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what ended up happening um, was Milton was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to come through here and he was supposed to wreak havoc. Milton didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Milton decided, no, I've had enough and I'm going on my merry way. And left us free and clear, which was a good thing, especially when a lot of us were still dealing with Helene's visit.
Exactly.
So instead, what we had was a beautiful aftermath.
A tropical breeze.
Yes.
So we're going to pull in one of our hosts. She has actually been so excited and at the same time been so willing to stick in this long with us younger people. Those younger people we deal with are so much old souls. They basically are just older than us. And we're so glad to see this young person decide to stay as long as she has been. Because we thought a long time ago, we were going to basically feel like we're going to run away from her and tell her they'll never come back because she's so old. We can't take it anymore.
Exactly. We just can't deal with old people like that.
Exactly. She's so busy. She's doing so many great things. And young people like us, we're just growing up.
I know.
And we hardly do nothing in life as of yet, but just sit at home and eat bonbons.
And twiddle our thumbs.
So we're going to bring in this older, mature, beautiful lady and welcome
Empress Makalani.
It sounds so Hawaiian. It's not even funny.
It does.
Exactly. It's Hawaiian.
Say that again.
It's Swahili.
I looked it up today, by the way. Each one of them has, one of them is a name of a particular tribe in Africa. I can't remember which one. I think it's the middle one that I saw on your Facebook. And the first one definitely has a African name to it. Also has a German name to it at the same time. The last one I can't remember. But when you put it all together, it's a healing, cultural, individual, something like that. So it was very beautiful itself. So your weekend, we know that you did talk to us at one time, and you said when it comes to storm time, you said your lights were off. And there were so many people's lights off.
After Helene, yes.
Was yours lights off too?
For 5 days.
Oh my goodness. I forgot it was for a while, wasn't it?
Wow.
Yeah. Almost a week.
Wow. So how did you survive? Were you in the house all the time, or did you go over to friends, or did you went to McDonald's the third day after? Because we know the McDonald's was open after the third day.
There's a Parker's down the street from me in walking distance, and I kind of just went over there, took all my devices, plugged up, used the Wi-Fi, and I spent hours every day in Parker's.
Wow. Smart person, taking advantage of your environment and utilizing it in such a way where it becomes something that works well for you. So we're very happy to see that you did that. I know you were too far to come to where we are, but for the first 3 days, it wouldn't have made a difference, even though it'd be fine, because we didn't have no electric either.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we ran our generators that at least gave us some of the creature comforts when that was going there too. So anyway, during this time, I want people to make sure that they share with their friends, share with their relatives. I hope at the same time.
And more than that, I'm sorry, I was just, you switched on me and I was getting ready to say something. But when you said more than that, it hit me. More than that, in situations like that, you got to call and check on people that you know.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter if they are younger or older and have everything together, don't have everything together. You need to check on them because, you know, sometimes people who have everything going on in a situation like that, they have no idea how to cope.
Exactly.
And so, you know, they may need your knowledge, your help.
Exactly. And see, young people like us, we only think about things like that. We know as old as you already thought about it, didn't even care. You were too busy in Parker's, enjoying Parker's or a Red Bull and
coffee.
and coffee.
And Timbers and fries.
Exactly. Hey, I hope you make sure too that on the next show when you're in, make sure that you share that with your network. You have such a large network. Make sure you share that also too, that you'll be on the show so they have a chance to chime in and talk and all that other good stuff, especially which pretty soon we'll be doing something physically out there in the physical world, not just the virtual world. And we want to make sure that they already ahead of time had a chance to get a flavor of the show and the hosts are involved, and it'll make it easy for them to come out when we do something and we come out of the closet, as they say in so many words. From then, I'm feeling much better, as you could tell, as you can see. I'm very happy about that too. But back to that storm time.
Yes.
Because now we're talking about how storms can be also part of our times in our relationships,
Mhm.
and the importance of the fact that when those storms happen in our relationships, I didn't say that they're not. I'm saying no if. I'm more talking about when they happen, because they're going to happen.
Yeah, no relationship is perfect, and no relationship is wonderful 24/7.
Exactly. Exactly. So we have to be prepared when they happen. In that weekend that that storm came, there was a lot of real confusing, dark energy that was going on out there anyway, from
Mhm. Yes.
politics, outside of the physical storm. And also, too, the people were talking about the sun was sending out the most strongest
Solar
solar
flares.
flare that it's ever did directly to the earth. And of course, solar flares have for years affected the earth, animals, seasons, even the tides. And if you're very sensitive, it even affects you
Mhm.
too. So a lot of us didn't know, and I'm just now narrating it real quickly, that sometimes your outside environment is also affecting your relationship in the inside. Okay. And that relationship in the inside also relates to you as a being in your own
Mhm.
inside. You're having a lot of confusing thoughts that are coming to your mind, thoughts that you never had before, thoughts that you never thought you would have before. And somehow you feel that much more inclined, especially if you're a person that likes to think, that you figure you have to entertain them. But they're not thoughts that yours in the first place to be entertaining.
Exactly.
And you don't even really know that. So that's that storm that's going on. And so you can also be just as we were vulnerable, especially if you're sensitive people. Both of
Mhm.
us are very sensitive. I'm a little bit more sensitive than Sharon, but you could be vulnerable to those storms
Yes.
and not be aware
The
consciously,
frequencies of them.
exactly, that that storm that's going on is affecting your relationship. And you may not even know it at all. You may think it's the usual kind of bump that's going on, but not paying attention that it's something more than just that that's going on. And so I'm going to give us an example about how that storm dealt with us, to be honest with you. But I'm going to hold on to it before we talk about it in detail. And I'm going to go to a video, which we usually do, that kind of helps us give a, I say, a older perspective or a younger perspective,
A
however you
different
want to say,
perspective.
okay, on what it's like when it comes to storms and what should we do or not do. So I'm kind of giving just a little bit of hedge before I give our testimony of what happened in the
Yeah.
storm with us. So let me do like I usually do. I'll bring it up, and I'm going to bring it up in such a way so do I make it bigger or larger? How do I do it usually?
Generally, you do.
Oh, oh, it's not right there. Where's it at?
It's
Back on stage. I think I'm just going to keep it there because it doesn't give me another choice. What is this? New layout?
no, no.
Okay, let's cancel that. So let's go over to it and get this thing started. See if I can think I can get it larger than this at all. Probably
I
not, since
I
I just
think
messed it. Oh, I just messed it
yeah,
up.
you did.
That's what I get for messing with it.
Yes. Why don't we just play it?
Okay, you're right, ma'am. I will. Here we go.
You want to be married. You're trying to figure out exactly what is it about me that's not allowing me to be in that space, or maybe you're in a relationship, maybe you're in a marriage, and it's not really giving what you thought it was going to give. I can tell you one reason. You're probably not practicing selflessness. I am not telling you to put people's needs and feelings over your own. I'm telling you that their needs and feelings should be on par with yours. Selflessness plays a huge factor in your ability to compromise. So if you're constantly like, it's my way, it's how I feel, you're struggling to understand things more objectively, you really only focus on your perspective, your perception, your viewpoint, that's letting you know your ability to bend is not necessarily there. And that's one thing about being selfless. You're willing to bend. What shows your commitment outside of that material display? Think about that. What characteristics of you, what strengths of yours show that commitment? I can tell you selflessness definitely does. It's so much when it comes to being a selfless person. That's something that you really should practice before you even go into any relationship. Or if you're in a relationship or a marriage, you can practice that too. Go out and help somebody, pay it forward, go donate, go do some charity work, do something, because that selflessness shows your willingness to sacrifice whenever it's necessary. And let me tell y'all, marriage takes a lot of sacrifice. I hope this helps. I wish you all the best. Happy, healthy relationships. Bye, babies.
Okay.
So,
That is so crazy how every
Yeah.
time I get on this show, y'all show something I was just talking about.
Hold on, hold on, hold on for a second. Like usual, someone like me will get over here. There you go. There we go. Go ahead. You were saying real quickly. You said this happens
I said
when.
every time I get on here, y'all show a video that was like valid just an hour ago. I just literally had a conversation with everyone knows who.
Well,
And
that. Go ahead.
and I was just saying that so it was like um you work this weekend? He was like yeah, and I was like, don't you got a lot to do this weekend? And he was like, all I gotta do is my baby dance. And I was like, okay. So I instantly had a reaction, but I sat with it. But he responded to
Mhm.
my reaction. And I was aware that there's a lot going on this weekend. So I sat with that and he went straight to, oh, you upset? And I'm like, no, I'm not upset. I'm realizing something. So I'm taking him to work. And I'm keeping to myself because I'm in my head. And when we park, he like, so what you thinking about? And I was like, I think there's a lesson that I think there's a lesson that I'm being taught right now about because I'm the selfless one. I'm always considering every avenue, every person. If I'm hungry, I ask if you're hungry. Like I'm just constantly on top of how you feel. But what I realized in people's initial response, and I told them there's nothing wrong with your initial response. Your reflexive response was about your priority. You didn't consider other things in your response. And I appreciate where your priorities lay. But what I'm realizing is that when I'm asked a question like that, I'm instantly considerate of myself and my surrounding people. And I'm realizing that in more than one aspect, I am not anyone's reflexive response. What I have going on, what I'm considering, what my priorities are, aren't anyone else's reflexive response. And so I was telling him that I'm realizing that maybe my lesson is to be a little bit more self-oriented because I end up having myself in situations where I'm selfless, consistently selfless, and there's no one pouring into me.
no reciprocation.
Exactly. But let's hold on to your thought for a minute,
Mm-hmm.
because your thought you're referring to is a thought process that is that much more justifiable in its way when there's not a commitment in that relationship that is as strong and as turned as connected as a committed relationship called a marriage or a bonding for long term.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
therefore, there's another higher level of energy and commitment that's required in that connection between that two individuals or more than one that we look at in thriving relationships. When you're not in a thriving relationship and you're mostly in what we call surviving relationship, where you have not made that verbal kind of commitment and make that kind of connection, almost any of those things go, and they do happen that way. The importance is to move to that next direction And that next higher level, that next energy level, that becomes more of a agreement between you two as an individual. Hopefully it's mutual agreement, where then there's more of a commitment from the inside, that there is more, how can I say it, surety of how you move and how you move forward. We call that the power of unity, of course, or the power of us. And we know the underpinnings are called interconnectivity or intraconnectivity. You can't expect a lot of those kind of functionalities or foundations to be in a relationship when you have not took that move between you two to make that strong commitment. Anything else is kind of open for that matter.
The foundation has to be strong in order to build in order to build on it.
Exactly. So let's finish. Let's hold that for a second to let you know that, and want to give you some insight that when you move to a level where you are more in a committed kind of relationship, as we are, and we decide to do, don't necessarily mean it always happens that way, you still will go through a storm.
Yes.
I was just about to say, I was married
You,
4.5.
you
I was
was
married for 4.5 years.
exactly.
And had the same, and
So
still had the same.
exactly. So you still will have a storm. The storm will be a different kind of storm. No
The
doubt
way it's
about it.
handled will be different.
Well, you hope it will
Right,
be
yeah, hopefully.
from that particular end. But since relationships are not perfect and it's about trying to be balanced, the storms that you will go through in those committed relationships that are in turn are more connected, and hopefully that you will then strive to want to make even higher connections than that. Not just thriving connection, but real healthy, balanced connections as we're moving towards and working with. You still are going to be in a lifetime learning lesson, because on this earth, there will be lifetime learning lessons for you to have all your life. Some you're hoping you learn a little bit, so you come to the point that you don't have to worry about redoing it again. But then again, some people may have to redo it again, and some they may keep. But we're specifically talking about the storm that Sharon and I went through. We want to give to folks here, because a lot of our storms, especially in our Black community, a lot of our storms come through what we and I went through. First of all, we don't necessarily pay attention to that. It's an outside circumstance that's happening. Sometimes it could be easy as our mom, our dad, our kids, our job, or the community we live in. And many times we won't go further than that, as we talked about the first time, that it could be an environmental, like the weather.
Yeah.
And we definitely don't go far enough to say maybe the moon or the sun is affecting us.
And
whatsoever.
sometimes we don't know what it is, and we don't seek to find out. We just assume that it's something that is easy.
No, what we usually assume is it has something to do with her or me.
Yes.
Anyway it goes, we still assume that it has something to do with us.
Yeah.
Something to do with us, pointing back with us or the other person.
Generally the other person.
Exactly. Usually when that storm happens and you're blinded, just like the storm that came with Milton, there was so much fear before that. Everybody was scared.
Once Helene happened and Milton was on her heels, it was like everybody was expecting a 1-2 punch of disaster.
Everybody left Florida. I mean, the whole lines of highway was full with people getting out of there. They were fearful as can be. People up here were fearful as can be. Comparing that or reflecting to the relationships, when you are going through the storm, both of you feeling fearful. There are a lot of storms, a lot of clouds. You're not thinking straight. You're not even talking to each other straight. You don't even have the same feelings with one another.
Exactly.
And we certainly didn't.
And from the standpoint of a man who feels like he is responsible, that he has to hold things together, that he has to make everything work right. If something breaks down, he has to fix it. If something, he's the glue. He sees himself as the glue, not knowing, having to deal with that gray area, that what if, it can take its toll.
Well, it does take its toll. It has you not think even well and clear enough that you won't even take some of the techniques that are used that we'll be talking about later on to enter in to help clear through the storm.
Right.
But that's the key thing here. that we're all will go through those storms. What we're going to talk about real quickly before we move into the solutions is that we will go through storms anyway. And it happens in relationships. And we are giving you an insight on the storm that we went to the point where Sharon and I'm going to let everybody know right now, we didn't even talk to each other. And when we did, you didn't want to know the words that came out of her mouth. And her mouth too. Oh yeah, she got a potty mouth.
No.
Now everybody look at Craig and you know Craig's got a potty mouth. But it was that bad. We fought like cats and dogs and act like we didn't know each other. It was that bad. One of us was ready to leave. The other one didn't care if they left. The storm was bad, like the fearfulness of the storm where people were leaving from their homes and people were on the road blindly, just saying, we got to go. We got to go. We got to leave everything behind. In your relationship, sometimes, even in a relationship that we're talking about this level, sometimes you're going to feel like, I got to leave this woman, this man, and all the years I've been with him. I got to leave this behind. I got to go. I just got to get out of here.
Cut your losses.
Exactly. And that's where we were at. That's how bad that storm was.
And it just came up suddenly, just like that. It was not something that had been, brewing for months, for years. It was just like, all of a sudden, one day, there it is. And with such a strength, such a vengeance, it was actually shocking. I spent a lot of time going, what is this all about? What is this? The problem is I was saying, what is this all about? What is this to myself? I wasn't sharing it. I wasn't sitting down with him saying, this is not us. What is really going on here? So we didn't at that time in the midst of it.
Well, let's not give that away. We're going to go, We're going to go to a break. We're going to come back and we're going to get into a little bit more. And then we're going to look at moving into some solutions when we're in the storm or the struggles.
And see where that leaves you.
Exactly. We'll come right back.
Join us for an unforgettable Caribbean cruise. Attention everyone, are you ready for a summer escape? Our Black Media Network invites you to an incredible Caribbean cruise from June 16th to June 20th, 2025. Whether you're bringing your partner or connecting with family and friends, this is the perfect getaway. Here's what you can look forward to. Monday, we set sail for the Port Carnival, Orlando, Florida. The adventure begins. Tuesday, enjoy a fun day at the sea. Relax and take part in exciting onboard activities. Wednesday, discover the beauty of Grand Turk. Immerse yourself in the island of culture and scenery. Thursday, another fun day at the sea. More time to mingle with you and your boo. Friday, explore the stunning shores of the Bahamas. Experience paradise firsthand. And last but not least, Saturday, we return to the Port Carnival, bringing back cherished memories. This cruise is your chance to engage with your favorite show host, your spouse, and make valuable connections and ignite meaningful conversations. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity. For more information, reach out to our staff or any show host and email at getgoingtravelagency@gmail.com. Once again, that's getgoingtravelagency@gmail.com. Secure your spot today and get ready for a remarkable summer experience. You can learn more information at rblackmedia.com. Once again, that's rblackmedia.com.
Need your garments cleaned with care and with a professional touch? Then bring them to One Price Cleaners in Garden City at the Old Farmers Market on Highway 80. Service you can count on.
Hey, we're back. We were back real quickly. Sorry about that. And let's bring her back too at the same time. Oh, there she is. Um, yes. So I think after the end of the show, we're talking about where people can see us, and we'll all do that same thing. Just remind me before we get to the end. So we're going to carry on and say that in that storm that Sharon and I had, in looking at the storm that was on the outside that was going on, what happens many times in our storms in a relationship, we start moving like the hurricane to the what? The eye. And every storm has, hurricane wise, has an eye. And that's what we begin to concentrate on was the eye. Because in a balanced, healthy relationship, it's always moving towards the us. It's always moving towards the we. When the storm comes, like a hurricane, you move more to the I, which is all about you.
And the I is where all the damage happens.
Exactly.
That's where you get whatever is. That's where good things stop happening.
Well, in a hurricane, actually, the eye is very, very calm. All the damage comes from the outside wind. The I, in this particular case, and when you look at it in a relationship, many times when we concentrate on the I, we think we'll do better and be better without that other person.
It's all the damage.
Old Mary J. Blige song, I could do bad by myself. Okay, that's the first thing we think, like the middle of a hurricane. I can do better by myself, really bad by myself, but I can do better by myself. And that outside hurricane, the thoughts of she did this to me, she did this, like in this particular case, it was you did this, and yours was what?
You did this and you did that.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
Where's the I part?
It was more like, well, for me, it was you did this, you did this. I did nothing. I'm okay. I don't know what your problem is. Type of thing.
Thank you for being honest about that, because I knew there was. And my part was, why am I here? Why am I putting up with this? I know there's so much about relationship. I know I'm all about this idea of being unity. I presented this to her in the first place. I've been doing this for a long time.
I know this and you don't know this.
Exactly. It was all I, and I'm
which
like,
is
I'm ready
so
to get rid
not
of this.
like him.
Well, at that time it was a storm going on.
Yeah, a serious storm.
Exactly. So when those kind of storms, or they'll call struggles, happen, because they will happen in a relationship, it's a testing point for us. And I will be honest with you, that morning, Sharon and I'm talking about the morning when the outside there was no storm, but the inside of us was storm.
The Friday.
Exactly.
That Friday morning.
I'm sitting in the living room. She's sitting in the bedroom, and I'm like, I'm ready to get the hell out of here. I'll be honest with you. And while we're sitting here, a small voice came to me. I knew it was my spirit. I'm on, to be honest with you. Came to me and said, listen, this is not like you. You don't usually operate this way. Could you not maybe think that maybe it's something else that's going on that you're not really paying attention to? I have to admit, since I do love the outdoors and I pay attention, listen to the birds, I know how nature can change your whole dynamics as it should be, because it's been here forever. And so it presents you that presence of eternity. And so I thought to myself, as I listened to myself, meditate on myself, there is something else that's going on. This can't be me. I can't allow how this thought of me hating her and feeling this way to actually believe this when I know it can't be true. What do? And see, I think that's one of the things that happens in our storms. We don't go to a point, because many times we're egotistical. We are self-centered. We are, as she said, not selfless, but selfish. I'll say it again. We are not selfish. We are selfless. We are self-centered.
Selfish.
And because of my selfishness, I thought to myself most of the time, it, not knowing, as my spirit came to me and said, it's not you. This is not how you would be. This is not how you even believe, period. This is another outside energy of force that's going on here. And you are forgetting who you are, and you're forgetting what you created, and you're forgetting who she is and therefore who you two are as a unity and as a we. I thought to myself when I heard that kind of voice, I said, where would that even come from? Then it came to me. It was our ancestors who were speaking to us. It was my ancestors through the storm that was speaking, that no matter how much storm you go through, no matter how much problems you go through, you can still get back to yourself. You can still get back to your mind. You can still get back to your soul. And I think about how the ancestors who had went through more than what we went through, being ran down by dogs, being hunted down by those who wanted to kill them, being every day being persecuted and being told that they're nobody or nothing, but yet they still connected in their relationships. They still related and had children. How did they do that? They did not lose themselves so much to be only about themselves. They understood that they were more than not what we use today, conquerors, but they understood, I think the main important thing, as this young sister brought up, being selfless, is that it wasn't their fault. Yeah. They didn't bring this onto themselves. It wasn't a situation of, I'm a bad person, I belong here, I'm the one that in turn should be deserved to be in this slave mentality because someone else said it. No. Though they may have prayed to God, though they have many times, as I said, how can I say it? Some people say kind of not cowered down, but played a little bit different than how they dealt with white folks. At the end, most of them knew that that's not my fault in this situation. God didn't want me to be in this situation. And I think that's the most important thing that we need to understand. Just like when the storm went by, people begin to look at it as being a blessing to them because they knew that they didn't cause that storm. It wasn't their fault that it came. And now that the storm is gone and it becomes nothing but a tropical breeze, I can live again. Clearly, when you start getting into your right mind, truly, when you start listening to your ancestors, truly, when you start listening to yourself, you begin to find out in your right mind, in your right spirit, in your right self, you could understand that it is not your fault. It is not you who are what other people say you are.
Something else has come to play.
Exactly.
In the situation.
Exactly. And that's part of healing. Part of healing is finding out that you are loved, that you are cared for, that you have been and created in existence in a way that you to be a creator and not just be, as some people say in the monetary world, a consumer. And I think that's very important for us to know and be when it comes to dealing with what? Dealing in our relationship. Because once you stop moving that way, you're going to be able to look at your mate much better.
Yes.
You'll be able to, as she talked about, being able to see your mate in the light of love, in the light of she's somebody I can love because I'm not just concentrating on how bad I am.
Or he is.
Oh, he is. Exactly. Yes. I'm going to be not just self-centered on just who I am
and what I want
and what I can do. I'm also going to be reaching out to that mate. Her example she gave, which was, if you have a hard time being that way, especially when it comes to get into a relationship, because it's going to take that, go volunteer somewhere.
Yeah, work in the community.
Old folks home, they need a lot of people to work for them.
Oh, yes.
Freely. Now, we're not talking about working for them to make money. We're talking about freely working for them.
And you don't have to be in your 20s to work at an old elderly home. No. You can be an elder and have the time to work at an elderly home. Because here's the thing with that, you have something in common. You can communicate on a certain level. So, there is no age limit to reaching out into the community.
No, we do that now. We have our own organization called Unity in the Community. We've been doing for a long time, doing the programs, whether it's Book Back, Give Back, or in turn we do a Christmas show where I become Santa Claus. I don't know what I'm going to do it this year, losing so much weight. And I've been giving back in the community ever since I was young, I'll be honest with you, not worried about getting paid. The old-fashioned philanthropic kind of mindset. In a relationship, we have to think about that same thing.
Yeah.
And we have to fight from the fact through the struggles, because struggle times are going to move us to be thinking more of ourselves than a relationship. And we lose that whole mind thought. And it does happen in relationships. And I would say the closer and committed you are in the relationship, you're going to get tested the most. Your mom's going to test you. Your dad's going to test you. Your kid's going to test you. Your job's going to test you. The universe sometimes will even test you from the standpoint of how serious are you with this relationship that you made a commitment to between you two.
As in sending a storm.
Exactly.
And the storm does not have to be a literal storm.
Yes.
A storm could just be things are not going right. A storm could be an illness. A storm can be, everything is falling apart in the house. And I don't mean big things. It could be just little things, but they're happening all at once. A storm does not have to be a physical hurricane, tornado, or whatever.
Well, one thing is for sure, of course, because we're using this analogy. One thing is for sure, in a relationship that's committed and you two are working on being more of a us, the test will in turn will be more complicated.
Yes.
As you're in the relationship, because there's no such thing as perfect. You're tested on this earth to in turn see how well you can connect, and through the adventure of understanding as you as a created being and who you are, and your understanding connecting with that other particular being. So your tests will get even that much more complicated if you and your relationships are working on trying to in turn connect with one another in a more balanced, healthy way. There's just no doubt about it. Absolutely. It won't be as simple as, well, that fork is upside down, and yesterday I always wanted to be upside up.
Yeah. and so, you know what? I'm glad you said that. I'll turn it around.
No. Sometimes will be an example of, my love language that I've talked to you about before. You seem to not consistently be able to present that love language to me. And you could have been consistently giving that love language to me for the last couple of days. But this particular time, outside environment or me being sick, for some reason, I'm not looking at it that way. For some reason, I'm not clear about it. Maybe I didn't do enough meditating. Maybe I didn't do enough listening to my spirit. But this day, I feel like some people got a hair up in your ass. And I'm just saying, I'm sorry for being wrong. And so therefore, that more complicated inside concern becomes something where I blow it out of proportion. And you say to me, but I did touch you today. I did give you some words of encouragement today. Why are you giving me a hard time? Example about. Yeah. So sometimes when you're moving higher up in relationships and you're trying to be that much more connected and healthy, there's going to be something else more unhealthy. But no, as Dr. Frazier said, if he was here, that's why you got to be concerned about how you eat. That's why you got to be concerned about your environment, who you're around. That's why you got to be concerned about, do you get enough sleep? Those kind of things that you'd be concerned about in your environment itself, because in your relationship we're talking about. Otherwise, because of the fact that we're not perfect and not always moving as we could be in a relationship, those outside environments can cause those kind of storms and be created. And in turn, we go through them. Longer or shorter, it all depends. Let's give her a chance, because I can see she just biting at the bit. I saw her smile at least once when there was something that we said. So go right ahead.
Pop on in.
No, y'all, you right on, right on the money.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, you're gonna have to give us some money. Give us an altar now. We're passing the plate right now. For that end.
Put in, don't take it out.
But if since you did, go ahead. Come on now.
In some relationships, they actually take that storm and they actually leave. They don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, things that don't have to end. And I think some of us that aren't in those relationships want to know more of how you can, I guess, come back from it or rekindle it, or should you rekindle something like that? If you're going through a storm, like for example, y'all, if one of y'all would have left is it worth bringing it back together? Um, is those questions from the youth are was spreading through the media at this point, which is one of the reasons why the young lady that you posted, Miss Kitty, I think Kitty Rose, I think that's her name, something like that. Why they are so in such the media is so heavy because we have those types of questions.
No,
Like
no doubt about it. Yeah.
being
No.
being in it and both of you guys holding on is one thing, but being in something that was precious and then getting a storm between you guys and one or the other doesn't know what to do and they leave. Like, how does that work?
Well, see, that's the part where I'll be honest with you. Like with Dr. Frazier, who we deal with, a holistic doctor, that's the part that usually has to do with why some storms come. Because some storms come because it's something that you haven't did or you did directly, and that storm came. And it was not a storm that had nothing to do with you. And those storms that come directly because of something you did or something you didn't do, then those are the things that have to do with what kind of information do you need as maintenance and as knowledge to keep you from running into storms, because it's not like you're not going to have them. It's going to be that you're going to have them and you want to know how to deal with them. And that is something that we're getting ready to get into the talk about. But we can't do it now because the show is about over.
But one of the things that you said
Mhm.
that I feel like needs to be addressed, because as you said, people are trying to figure out what to do if it goes too far, what to do if one person leaves. And the statement was made so many times, you need to leave, or I need to leave, or something like that, that it became something that really had to be considered, because sometimes people will say things like that and it's just for effect. First couple of times it was just for effect. After a few more times, I'm like, oh, this is more serious than just effect. This is an honest to goodness contemplation that he is having. And so I had to consider, what were the alternatives? Do I leave? Do I let him leave? Not when I don't know what's going on. So I felt like we have built so much and the foundation is there. Maybe some roots have grown under the foundation and it's cracked a little bit, but that can be fixed. And I felt like it was fixable. So one time he said it, I think I caught him off guard. And I said, okay, well, one of us can take the other bedroom and one of us can take the master bedroom,
Mhm.
but I'm not leaving. So what you gonna do? And so, and that kind of was like, he had to consider that. He's not leaving, I'm not leaving, taking the other bedrooms. And his statement was, I vowed that I would never be in a relationship where we're living separate in the same house. What you gonna do? Because what we have is too valuable to throw away, especially when you don't know why and what's going on.
Exactly. But that comes from, again, first of all, there has to be a commitment. You have to first start with a commitment with yourself, because some people don't want to be in committed relationships,
Yes.
period, from the go. So it doesn't make a difference how that relationship goes with anybody. They don't want to be committed in a
Yes.
relationship,
Yes.
period. That's the weakest link. But if you are committed to want to be committed in a relationship, again, it's not anything to do with that you're not going to have problems, because problems are going to happen.
Yes.
Storms are going to happen. When those storms happen, your wanting as a choice to be commitment will always be a bottom line or a foundation that at least you can stand on. How you deal with it from there, like I said, I wish Dr. Frazier would be here. He would then say, has to do with what kind of environment, how much sleep have you had, how much food have you been
Yes.
eating correctly, have you been exercised? all those things will then come into account during that time.
Mhm.
And that also goes with that other individual.
Yes.
How committed are they? What kind of things have they did
Mhm.
during that process, or
Yes.
when times are doing good and times are being connected, so that when time comes and push comes to shove, and it shows exactly what you're made of, that in turn, if you are just about self, then commitment is not going to last, because the only commitment you have is only to what? Yourself. And that's why the young lady said before this, you may not be ready for a committed relationship because you are mostly self-centered and not what? Selfless. And so practice going out, maybe working in old folks' home. Practice maybe at doing things to give back to the community.
Working at the neighborhood school.
Exactly.
Going to a daycare, reading to the kids. Or just, even if you have a business, teach something that you know for free.
Exactly.
So it's
all getting you prepared for what a relationship's going to be. We do know now today, as it was in the older days, the idea of making a sacrifice in a relationship, which is all part of a commitment, it's just right out the door, because we live in right now a more me, gotta have it now,
Yes.
McDonald kind of generation, period.
Microwave
generation. Influencers are moving that direction, and they may even think that this is a real godly thing to be about. I got to manifest this right now, but you do no work. You do no sacrifice. You don't even understand that manifestation comes from a spiritual point of view, where you are ready to give up in order for you to get in.
Yes. And here's the other thing, we talk about the past, and we talk about how, what relationships were like before. Before, we were raised in a sense of community, and everybody gave. Nobody was selfish when we had close-knit communities, or we had the community attitude. Young ladies grew up knowing how to be selfless to young men. Young men grew up knowing how to be selfless, how to be selfless to young women. And therefore, the mindset was different. We've got to learn that now, in these new relationships, like you were talking about, in these Melania, in these new relationships, there's nobody to teach young people how to be selfless. Because the overwhelming thought is,
got to get it now. Got to get paid.
What
now.
about me?
Exactly.
I got to get mine, not ours. You're going to hold me back from getting mine. You're going to keep me from having my dreams. You're going to keep me from doing all that. And I'm not just saying it's young people, it's older people too. But what I'm saying is the idea and the ideology that we are growing up with.
But even at that, that's fine if you want to stay as an individual being, even though I'll be honest with you, you're still going to have to interface with other beings anyway in the first place. And you have to use the power of connection called a relationship to be able to move forward. Even people like Trump and other self-centered people, they still relate to others, though they use fear and those kind of things to get people to move out of control. But there's nothing new in the sun that matter, but they still have to relate to other people, period. If you are trying to move into a relationship that's committed, where you want the kind of love that's balanced with one another, called a balanced relationship, then there's going to be some everlasting principles that must be practiced in order for you to move and to expand and to, in turn, how can I say it, be able to be authentic with one another. You must learn these kind of principles. And these are the principles that we are speaking about. These are the principles, those who are at that kind of level where they're like, I want to now expand. I want to remodel. I want to take it to another level. These are the kind of information that we want to give to those kind of folks who are in that kind of relationship. There are many relationships that in turn are as Dr. Fraser said, that they are beyond repair. There's not anything you can do, because they've already made the decision that this is the direction they're going to go, and you can't help them and you can't make them. And last but not least, because we are mostly doing what we call coaching here, they take sometimes real counseling and what they call psychological therapy, and that takes days, weeks, and months, and sometimes years.
And it depends.
And you cannot do that overnight, and we definitely cannot do that over the show.
And it depends on how bad you want it,
It's
how
always
bad
that.
both people want it.
It's always
Um,
that.
But next week,
Hmm.
we're going to start getting into some of the solutions.
Exactly.
And one of the solutions, the very first solution, the top solution,
Hmm.
is very, very important. It takes it down to where it needs to be.
What's that?
Communication.
Exactly. Exactly. That's one of the biggest things in the relationships that make it. I mean, our struggle that we went through as a storm because we were
We
not.
stopped
We
communicating.
stopped communicating. It was outside reasons, no doubt about it. But
But
that's
we
the
brought it
biggest
inside,
thing.
and that's where the problem was.
Yeah, we just stopped communicating. Okay, so
Okay.
if you want to find us, where can they find us real quickly, Sharon? Because our show is getting over to me.
On Saturday mornings
Mhm.
from 9 to 10 Eastern Standard Time, you can
Mhm.
find us on WRUU, which is a radio program that is local, but you can also get to it on 107.5 WRUU.
Okay.
You can also find us here on Taking the Journey at 6 p.m. on Thursday evenings. And you can also get us on Facebook at
Mhm.
TTJ Together. Instagram is taking the J together. You can call us at 912-421-8862. And on the web, you can find us at takingthejourney-together.com. Email us at ttjt@takingthejourney-together.com.
Exactly.
And
And
Empress Makalani,
yes, look up and live.
it is not that bad.
You ain't kidding me.
Come on now.
You old folks, you act like you're older than us. You got years and well, okay, years.
Now, I feel like some things that were said have some things rolling in your mind, and that's what that's about.
We'll talk to her after we get
But
off the show.
right now, we want to know where people can find you.
Exactly. Come on now.
You guys can find me on all platforms at IC Port Savannah.
IC as in the letter C?
ICPORT Savannah.
Okay. See, we want to make sure people know because somebody's going to type in IC, ISEE.
But
So-
you also can see her on Taking the Journey Together here
right.
on the show too. It's you cannot now deny that we don't want you on the show, and you cannot deny that you don't want to be on the show. So let's now have you step to the next level and let people know you're on the show. As in turn, they can know that now they can see you here Thursdays, as we just got to say.
Exactly. Or that you have a place on the show.
Exactly.
Can't deny that either.
Yep. Definitely. Thank
you.
All right. Until next time, stay with us once we get through our commercial things. And Mr. Julius, I hope you're listening. Thank you for letting us know about the new commercial that's going. Where is it going to?
The cruise.
I hope the hosts are able to go there at half price or free. I sure hope so. Anyway, let us know. We'll be glad. Thank you. Take care. God bless.
Keep taking the journey together.
Exactly.